Accutron Watches present. From New York City, this is the Accutron Show, a time travel through American culture with your hosts, Bill McCuddy, Scott Alexander, and David Graver. Visit AccutronWatch.com and discover the brand that has made American history with an all-new proprietary next-generation electrostatic energy movement. Accutron. It's not a timepiece, it's a conversation piece.
It's hard to notice, but there's a lot of progress everywhere, and everybody's focused on the doom and gloom part of it, and not on the progress that we're actually making.
The person you heard at the top of the show is Henk Rogers. He's a video game designer and entrepreneur and the managing director of the Tetris company. But first up, I'm Bill McCuddy, along with writer Scott Alexander and editor David Graver, here for a special episode of the Accutron Show. Stay tuned.
This podcast is presented by Accutron Watches. Visit our website, accutronwatch.com, and discover our iconic SpaceView 2020 collection, recreating the stunning visual impact of the original open dial design combined with an all-new electrostatic energy movement. Time just changed again. The Accutron SpaceView 2020.
Graver, what do you do for the environment? What's your thing that do you recycle? Do you put the...
I do recycle. I try not to use...
Boy, this long pause tells it all. And this is what I feel
Exactly.
like. This is how I feel
ride my
most
bike a
people
lot.
are. You ride your bike.
Yeah, I try. I mean, but that's part of that is because it's more practical in New York City a lot of times to ride my bike. So but that's a nice win-win. But it's...
Our guest today rides a bike, and he can afford to ride just about anything he wants or be taken anywhere in anything he wants.
It is really frustrating if you want to do something. Like I got concerned about plastic a couple months ago, and I was like, how can I get plastic out of my life? And I did a lot of stuff, got the plastic, out of those parts, and was like, is there any plastic left in my life? I was like, most of it.
Everything. I mean, it's everywhere.
Like every single thing you buy in the supermarket.
I try not to use single-use plastic, but it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere.
So
it's hard.
Commercials with the bottles that are just in dolphins and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not even kidding. This is like, it's depressing. It's like torture porn.
But I think you have to keep your head up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bill.
All right. I mean,
you can't just get hopeless about it. You got to have a sense of mission and a sense of, because it's important.
I think about it, but I'm not sure I do anything. And I wonder if that's what most people, because they just don't see the results. And it's depressing to watch giant ice sheets of ice come off of...
Well, it's like if you're standing, ever stood next to a really big ship and you can, in the harbor, you can push against it and push against it and push against it. It feels like it's not moving. And after about 5 minutes... it will start to move, but it takes that much pushing to go in. The energy has to go in. And I think a lot of energy has been going in. No, that's true. Really? A lot of energy has been going into this issue now for 20 years, right? And in the last 5 years, it seems to have gotten quite serious. So I feel like as long as we keep pushing, this is not me saying it's fine, we can relax. I'm saying as long as we keep pushing, we do round a corner at some point.
You also have to be mean sometimes, and if you see someone who is being irresponsible and not recycling, you have to say, could you please recycle that? I believe you have
That's you?
An individual bottle or can is probably not going to make the difference.
Every bottle matters.
But also, do you know that recycling is broken in the United States?
Yes.
So it's like most stuff is not getting recycled anyway.
I also think as a country, we drink half a bottle of water and leave the other half. I see
I cannot
millions.
stand, one thing I did do was get rid of bottled water in my life. I was like, this bottled water makes me just angry. Like the idea that it just even exists.
I guess that's a start.
Just stop using bottled water. Like that's the one tiny thing you can do. Then you don't have anything to recycle. You just have a water bottle.
Henk Rogers is fascinating because he founded or sort of found and brought to America the video game Tetris. So he is responsible for that addiction.
Responsible for me getting a C in geography.
many of us.
And there is a new film on Apple TV Plus.
It is. I've been Taron Egerton plays.
Pretty exciting. I loved it.
But his new end game is saving the planet. He actually walks the walk, rides the bike, and he is going to tell us all about the money he's put up personally, how he is going state by state and country by country to get everyone to an initiative by 2045 to be self-sufficient. He's doing it in his own home. It's a fascinating story. It will make you believe that you can do something. And it has its roots in the 1960s, like your fine folks here at Accutron. It's a great
I'm excited to talk to him.
And
in studio, he's going to be here with us
person.
in
I'm
person.
not going to waste any more energy talking about it. Henk Rogers right after this.
This podcast is presented by Accutron Watches. Visit our website, accutronwatch.com, and discover our Accutron DNA collection. Reimagined for a new generation, the Accutron DNA combines breakthrough technology, precise engineering, and modern aesthetics to achieve a new level of technical excellence. The Accutron DNA, the new face of time for those who blaze new trails.
Henk Rogers, welcome to the Accutron Show. We were talking before you got here about the ambivalence that most people seem to have. What's the disconnect between people that say they want to help the planet and then don't do anything?
Oh my gosh. I think that the change is happening so slow that people don't notice. A lot of these things happen like outside of our lifetime. I mean, I get this answer, oh, it's not my problem. I'm going to be dead by the time it gets really bad. I said, what the hell? What about your kids and your grandkids? You don't care about them? So, yeah, I think that the change happened so slowly that, like in 10 years, wow, things used to be this way. That is fast geologically,
Yeah,
but
I don't
it's
know
really
how
slow in human terms.
that is to me. The changes I'm feeling now feel
It's
like,
accelerating.
Yeah.
It's accelerating, of course.
I'm curious if you had an aha moment where you went from changing the world with video games to wanting to save the planet.
Yeah, I was in the back of an ambulance on the way to a hospital in Hawaii. I had it was a heart attack, 100% blockage of the Widowmaker. I just sold my company a month before, and I'm looking at the ceiling, and it's like, you got to be kidding me. I haven't spent any of the money yet, I just sold my company. And the second thing I said, no, I'm not going. I still have stuff to do. And so I got to thinking about what I mean by stuff. And so I decided to find my missions in life, my bucket list, so to speak.
And that is at what age? When did that
52.
happen?
Oh, wow.
That's
52.
young for that.
And the doctor said, I gave you 2 stents. You don't change a goddamn thing. Don't change your diet. Don't change your exercise. You're fine. Your lifestyle is fine.
Because people
It was an
listening to this
anomaly.
and can't see you, you look like you're in great shape.
Thank you.
And you were at that time.
I was, I was playing tennis that,
It was a fluke. It was
It was a fluke. So the doctor said, it was a fluke. It wasn't endemic. But flukes kill.
Yeah.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I could have been if I'd have been on the Big Island that day, I would have died because I needed angioplasty, and I made it. And the first mission came to me. It was in the newspaper while I was in the recovery room. It said, "Oh, by the way, it's in the back of the newspaper now in Hawaii. Oh, by the way, we're going to kill all the coral in the world by the end of the century." I'm going, seriously? Well, what's causing that? It's ocean acidification. What's causing that is carbon dioxide. What's causing that? We are.
Is that
So-
what helped form the mission of the Blue Planet Foundation?
That is the whole reason that the foundation even got started. That's I made up my mind I was going to end the use of carbon-based fuel.
And that's happening in Hawaii as of 2017.
It's happening in the world.
Yeah, okay,
we
good,
just
right.
it's,
I know
it's
that's
hard
the
to
mission.
notice. It's hard to notice, but there's a lot of progress everywhere, and everybody's focused on the doom and gloom part of it, and not on the progress that we're actually making. There are tons of cities that have said we're going to go 100%. Now, thanks to us, we have 20 states in the U.S. that have said we're going to go 100% renewable. This is just for electricity. There's a lot of other things that are producing a lot of carbon dioxide that got swept under the rug, so to speak, like shipping. When ships go into international water, they're not counted anymore.
Right.
It's like so ridiculous. And same, I don't know exactly what the deal is with planes, but yeah, there's a lot of places where we could make a big, big difference, and we're not even looking at those places because they're just, I don't know, statistics.
How are your initiatives helping to facilitate change?
Well, basically, what we did in Hawaii is we changed people's thinking. That's the main thing. So, I mean, I remember being on a panel, and this I don't know whether it was before or after we passed the mandate, but I said, we're going to go 100% renewable energy by 2045. And the guy next to me says, this is what I study for a living at the University of Hawaii. There's no way we can go 100% renewable by 2045. We're like, what? Okay, so I said, well, I'm not as smart as this guy, so I'm going to do it anyway. And guess what? Guess what? We have already hit our 2030 goal of 40% renewable energy today.
So explain to people what that means exactly. Are you 100% solar, wind?
So what it used to be is the utility made basically all of the electricity from oil and coal. $1 billion of coal and $2 billion of oil a year. Okay? And so that's
just Hawaii.
This is just Hawaii.
Right.
This is not Hawaii. Yeah. So that's what we were up against. And, Hawaii, if anything, is the mecca of wind and solar. We have trade winds to die for. We're the southernmost state in the country, which means we have the best solar. And we have geothermal. Are you kidding me? Geothermal is a bottomless pit of energy that is just mostly untapped for stupid reasons, as far as I'm concerned. Right. So there's all this stuff there. We pay the highest price for electricity in the country, and we have all this availability of renewable energy. So the utility pays 25 cents per kilowatt hour for oil. Just remember that. And their old business model is 10% on the price of oil. The new business model is we say, okay, you can make more money by switching to renewables. Wind and solar come in at 8 cents. If you add storage, it's up to 12 cents. Whoop-de-doo. It's half the cost to them of oil. And so basically we say, okay, you can make, instead of 2.5 cents, you can make 3 cents. Guess who's our best friend now?
It's funny because we heard for years that wind was inefficient, was never going to pay out, was never going to be able to.
Oh, that's all nonsense. I mean, I talked to a guy who wanted to do offshore wind in Hawaii, and he'd already done onshore in Texas, and he was selling and making money at 2 cents per kilowatt hour into the grid in Texas.
It really is a follow the money sort of thing. That's where the transfer of power will actually come.
It's just, if we were to give renewables a level playing field, like we subsidize fossil fuel to the tune of $7 trillion a year. And it's basically, what are we incentivizing here? Why are we subsidizing? Why are we pushing fossil instead of renewable? There's no reason.
You mentioned geothermal, and I know there's been some technological breakthroughs with that recently, haven't there?
Well, it depends on which
plants and newer places you can put them.
Of course, geothermal. They started doing it in Iceland back in the 70s, and so you can imagine that there's been lots and lots of technological but there was nothing even wrong with that. If you look at what they did in the 70s in Iceland, it's a miracle. Mm-hmm. They went from having a cloud dust over Reykjavik for heat and hot water to having electricity, heat, and hot water from geothermal.
Right. And but there, as I understand, there's more places that's more adaptable to more places now. Geothermal.
We have directional drilling. Right. We have closed loop, which means that in the old days you would send something down and you would get steam coming out of the other side. Now it's a closed loop. Okay. So there's nothing leaking from the system anymore. So you can use other things besides water to power your turbines.
Oh, okay.
You mentioned 20 states are coming on board. Hawaii first. Was Hawaii the low-hanging pineapple, for lack of a better term, because of the fact that it had so much wind and so much sun? And are there states that just will never be able to get there by 2045?
No, no one will never be able to get there. And yes, Hawaii is the low-hanging fruit because of the cost structure. The cost structure.
Oh, because it was so expensive.
It's so expensive. Oil and coal are so expensive in Hawaii.
You're disincentivized for those. So that's rolling downhill for people. Do you feel like there's a factor of people in Hawaii might be more in touch with nature just because they live closer to the ocean, or they live closer to the
that would be nice, but yes. And there's a nice culture there. I'm not gonna say it has nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. But we went to bat to get the people on our side. Because it's like this. You have the oil-fired power plant. Where does the garbage from that power plant go? It goes offshore, and so because it goes offshore, it's like doesn't bother anybody.
Problem, right?
It's like not our problem or whatever. So they're not in it. And if you live somewhere where they have a coal-fired power plant and it's causing your kids to wheeze and not be able to play.
You live in a valley and it collapses.
Yeah.
Whatever,
then you know it. Beijing should freaking know it. You can't even see the sun.
Yeah.
I saw that some of your work was dedicated to energy storage. And that's something that I have very little knowledge about, and I'm wondering if you could shed some light on that.
Yeah, so one of the laws that we passed is a solar rebate. So we helped the rooftop solar, and we were expecting somewhere around 30 megawatts of rooftop solar in a couple of years. We ended up with 300. It was just like wildfire. And then the utility said, no, wait, we can't handle that much on the grid. And the reason for it is that all of a sudden the sun shines or a cloud cover comes, and that drops or increases the amount of on the grid.
Mm-hmm.
And so the grid isn't built to handle that. And so that's where storage comes in. I figured I just did it personally. I have a little ranch on the Big Island, and I decided, well, let's figure this out. My ranch is like a little island. I'm going to disconnect from the electric company, and we're going to figure out how it works. What happens when you disconnect? Well, first of all, I had to overbuild the solar so that it would work on a cloudy day, which is what islands and what's what everybody needs to do. The real problem is on a sunny day we have all kinds of extra energy. What do you do with the extra energy? What a problem to have. What to do with the excess energy? And you can see in Iceland they smelt aluminum. They made like 5 or 6 times much electricity as they actually needed for their country. What we do is we use that excess energy to make hydrogen, and hydrogen is a fuel that you can store long term. And coming down the pike are hydrogen trucks and buses, even cars. But shipping should all be done
safely. That's a technology that we're going to be able to harbor safely in cars and trucks and stuff.
It's a fuel. You got to treat it with respect. If you mix hydrogen and oxygen at just the right amount and spark it, you will hear a very loud sound. But I mean, if you look at all the fossil fuels, if you have a leak of, I don't know, gas or gasoline, whatever, it's heavier than air. So what it does is it goes down and it follows the ground until it finds a spark, and then it comes back and blows your ass up if you're in a car. Hydrogen.
Gas stations are just bombs sitting on every corner in America.
Hydrogen, if there's a hydrogen leak, it's the lightest element in the universe. It disappears right away. You can't take hydrogen that's just floating in the air and ignite it. There's no way. It's moving too fast.
Of the fossil fuels we are still using, is diesel finally clean? I was just in London. We were talking about this before. And it's the cleanest I've ever seen it. And I know they have diesel cabs, but they also have a tremendous number of electric vehicles now. Have we cleaned up some of the bad fuels as well?
No, we have not.
Okay, so that was just
we have not. I think part of London thing is they don't allow cars that are not from London in London. So they've decreased the number of cars in London. I think that's one. I don't know the details.
Yeah, there's a congestion tax.
I don't know the details, but I know that they're banning diesel in certain cities now. Banning diesel. So it may be more efficient when it burns or something, but it's worse for the air pollution.
Yeah, I would imagine it's a marginal improvement.
It looked cleaner. It's anecdotal. You start saying things.
The city itself could be cleaner because they're letting fewer cars.
Yeah,
in the city, but they're talking about doing the same thing in New York.
What's our best city? What's our worst city in the United States?
I have no idea.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
has New York gotten better in the time you've lived here?
Well, when I lived here as a student, I mean, if it snowed, within hours it would be covered with soot.
And what year is that?
So I left New York in '72.
Mm-hmm.
So
soot was falling. I mean, you hear about people dining. You didn't want to eat outside on the sidewalk.
Oh,
because
yeah.
you would get your food would be covered in soot.
Oh yeah, and the building I lived in basically was heated with bunker oil. Bunker oil.
Right. Yeah. And people were burning their trash probably still.
I don't know about that. I mean, I was a high school student. It wasn't really my field of interest.
Henk Rogers is on a mission to save the planet. He rode. He didn't today. He walked, but he makes his home in Hawaii and New York. And when he's in New York, he rides a bike. Any near-death experiences there?
Nope.
Okay, good. We're going to find out more about Henk, how he got where he got, and what's he got on the plate so far. What's he spent doing this, cleaning up the planet? Also, he has a very unique calling card that I think he brought for each of us. Please join us with more. Henk Rogers is saving the planet. That's his new end game. And this is the Accutron Show. We'll be right back.
This podcast is presented by Accutron Watches. Visit our website, accutronwatch.com, and discover our legacy collection. reviving some of the most memorable Accutron watches from the 60s and 70s. The Legacy Collection combines timeless design with the technical excellence of Swiss watchmaking, each limited to 600 individually numbered pieces. The Accutron Legacy Collection, inspired by the past, built for the future.
Welcome back to the Accutron Show. Our guest is Henk Rogers. He started his career in a very odd way with a game that they actually made a movie about, but now we'll talk about that in a moment, now he's saving the planet.
I'm very curious, with all of the powerful work that you are doing, how would you empower people that find sustainability daunting? How would you tell a younger generation to get it together to participate?
It's funny. We kind of expect the United Nations and then countries to sort of get their act together and fix this problem. But in their moment of glory with the Paris Agreement, they haven't been able. First of all, their ambitions aren't high enough, and second of all, even those ambitions, nobody's on track. So it really isn't going to get done by the United Nations. We just have to accept that fact. Okay, once we accept that fact, we realize that it's the United people that are going to get this done, then we as individuals need to take action in our own lives, wherever we can. So if you know something about your behavior that could improve, I say start small. Turn off a light in a room where there's no people. What's the point? You at night, I see all these buildings with lights on everywhere, and it's just ridiculous. Why are they on? There's nobody there. And there's so many things like that. With rubbish, you can see people just throw their rubbish in different places. Pick up after yourself. These are all, very common sense things. But once you start a habit of doing something, which I've got a bunch of different habits. You mentioned that I ride bicycle, but I sold a company, so I have, how can I say, I'm well-to-do, so to speak. So in Hawaii, all my property, my ranch and my house off grid. I have electric vehicles which I charge only at my ranch. It means that so my vehicle travel is all off grid also. So, the place that I really can't do anything about is air travel. And I made up my mind I'm not doing a private jet. So I always fly commercial. So that may be something, but still, that's still a big thing. And then there's the whole supply chain of everything I consume. Right. I don't know where it comes from, and I don't know where it goes, and that's on me. And I'm kind of working on figuring out how to make that transparent.
I find really interesting this idea that you're doing like you said, the Paris Agreement and these kind of large worldwide, countrywide initiatives, they might be too big of a bite to take out of this problem, that you're going state by state and saying, hey, what if we just get this state to agree, just get this one? And that feels like a more practical approach.
It's a bite-sized chunks. It's instead of trying to eat the whole meal all at once.
Where's the frontier? Where's the front on that fight? Yeah.
For me, the low-hanging fruit in this fight is islands.
Okay.
Because Hawaii is an island, and we pay the most for electricity.
Right.
And so now I'm working on island countries. So last year we did Tonga, Tuvalu, Palau.
Okay.
So we're going island country by island country.
The ones that are about to disappear into the sea.
Yeah, so if you talk to Tuvalu, if you want to talk to us about climate change, you better talk fast because we're not going to be around. But here's the deal, the deal is, how much does it cost? Is it going to cost us to fix climate change? That's one price point. And how much is it going to cost us to move everybody that lives within 10 meters of sea level?
Right.
New York, London, Tokyo.
Yeah, they're talking about New York as becoming the next Venice.
Yeah,
in our children's lifetime, it may start to sink.
So, and then this is the question of reducing the amount of carbon dioxide that's in the atmosphere. And what are we doing? We're adding to it.
Without embarrassing you, you mentioned it's going to cost a lot to do all this. You made your wealth in the Tetris game. We've talked about that. We'll talk about it a little more. That how much have you put on the table personally? What do you have invested?
Well, to do Hawaii, it cost me about $10 million.
Thank you.
Truly. No, I mean, it's. We did things like had school children go door to door and exchange 300,000 light bulbs, thereby having a conversation between a child and adult about climate change.
Oh, that's great. That's really
you know, that kind of thing.
That's
so
to
I mean,
David's point about how are we going to get
yeah,
kids
we
to-
Person
got-
by person.
Yeah, we have a person in the Blue Planet Foundation dedicated to speaking to school children. He's out in classrooms every day. That's what we do. I mean, it's got to be the kids. The kids stopped us from smoking.
Right.
You know, all of these public service messages like cigarettes are going to give you cancer, you're going to die, blah blah blah. It didn't work. It's when they got to our children and said, you know, your father is going to die if he continues smoking. And when one of my children asked me, can you please stop smoking? I'd like you to be around. You know, that hit us personally. And if our children say, you know what, can you please stop burning fossil fuel? You're ruining my future. You're ruining my life.
Our planet.
Well, but giving an option, a replacement option, is really helpful. Like I've heard heat pumps apparently are a big energy saver for houses. People are talking about getting heat pumps put in instead of air conditioning systems and gas boilers.
Yeah, how
that run
stupid
off.
is it to have an air conditioner in one part of the house and a pool heater in the other side, and they're both using fossil fuel. And what we really need to do is get the cool from the pool into the house and the
Right.
heat from the house into the pool. That is a
heat
classic
around.
heat pump, thing.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it just those are two different companies. That's the problem.
Right.
One is an air conditioning company, and one is a pool heater company. But engineers can figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
Your road to advocacy began where? We talked about the heart attack was the turning point for you doing something with the planet, but I wonder if in the 60s you witnessed any kind of protest and thought, okay, one man can do something or one person can.
Oh yeah. So I was 17. We protested 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't want your effing war. We went on strike. This is after Kent State, and the whole nation went on strike. We went protest, and why? Well, what did the Vietnamese people ever do to us that made us want to go over there and kill them, or them kill us? I mean, look at today. We're best of buddies. It's so ridiculous that we fought that war. And so what that made me think or made me believe is that we, the people, can actually stop a war. We, the people, can actually stop climate change. If we
change the behavior of the
Oh,
government.
yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
But you learned it starts with laws and not just talking about it. And that was the thing that you did in Hawaii and that you're trying to do in all the states is to get real laws enacted that say, by this date, you will be.
All right. So first of all, no deadline, no action. If you don't give it a deadline, it's like you tell your kid you got to clean your room, and there's no deadline, then it's never
By
going to get cleaned.
2045.
Yeah, so 2045 was a negotiation between us and the politician. We wanted 2040. They wanted 2050. We negotiated and got 2045. 2045 turns out to be the 100th anniversary of the United Nations.
Ah,
Let's fix everything by 2045. We're on the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. Let's have the next 15 years, 2030 to 2045, be the Regenerative Development Goals. Let's fix everything that we've broken about nature and put back everything that we've stolen. I mean, that's what it is. And you talk about fixing the planet. It's not the planet. The planet is fine without us. Well, what it is our environment. We're basically killing ourselves.
Fixing our air and our water.
Our drinking water, our oxygen, our everything that we need, our food production, all of that stuff is at stake here, and we're just playing. I don't know, with dynamite. We don't know where this goes if we just let it go. Now, I think that technology and willpower will win over climate change. That's just the way I'm wired.
how do you maintain optimism in this battle to keep our air clean, to keep our water clean?
I look for solutions. I look for people who are on the right side of things. If you listen to the climate leaders like Greta Thunberg or Christiana Figueres, it's not too late. It is definitely not too late. Well, you could say it's never too late, but now is much better than tomorrow.
Doing something is better than doing nothing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And people ask me if I have hope, and I say, no, I don't have hope. I have determination.
And practical solutions.
The practical solutions. I mean, it doesn't even need a practical solution. Like John F. Kennedy said, we're going to the moon. He didn't have a practical solution. He just said, we're going.
Yes.
And when we decided to go to war in World War II or whatever, there's no practical solution. We just have to go and do this.
Right.
And
If you start thinking about like how you're gonna get bogged down.
Yeah.
And
Are we all going to be
speaking of, like,
driving
World War
electric
II.
cars in the next 5 years? 10 years?
We should
I-
be driving
I-
them now.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
I know.
There's a
and I
lot
know-
more. I was driving yesterday. I saw a Kia electric, and I was like, "Oh, Kia's making electric cars." Like, there's
Everybody's going to make electric cars.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Now,
And
you
there are
get the-
deadlines. There are
you get-
actual deadlines
There
from
are
a lot
actual
of companies.
deadlines, and so that's the next thing that we're doing is we're eliminating internal combustion engines from being sold in. That's what we're working on in Hawaii now. Norway's already done it. No more no more internal combustion after 2025.
What do the gas stations do?
They become
Think of the
charging
fossil
stations.
fuel
charging
companies.
stations, And entertainment hubs for when you're
Well,
charging your
no,
vehicle.
Starbucks coming soon to you.
But here's the deal. So
Charging stations.
the company that was supplying Hawaii with coal, $1 billion a year with the coal-fired power plant, that company is now the #1 solar producer in Hawaii.
That's
So-
great, but big oil and big coal are going to fight you in every state on this.
Great.
That's fine. That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
I
That's
got
our
no
battle.
problem with that. That's okay. But this is
Been to it.
this is free enterprise. This is capitalism. If I have a cheaper product that does less pollution, and they're not calculating how much we, the people, have to pay for the damage that they're causing.
Yes.
That's not included in the price of whatever that they're selling us. They're saying, buy this oil and ignore the part where we're destroying your environment, and then you have to spend the billions of dollars in the future, trillions of dollars to fix it. Okay, you guys fix it. That should be the part of your cost. You can't just like I'm going to make this pollution and let somebody else clean it up for you.
All of this was funded, as we alluded to, by a trip you took to Russia and a famous motion picture that's been made on Apple. You're the guy that brought Tetris to the United States.
My real claim to fame is I brought role-playing games to Japan in 1983. I made the first role-playing game in Japan. I ended up with a publishing company.
Which is like the home of role playing games.
Was that
just to
Black
be
Onyx?
Yeah,
clear,
that was
like-
Black Onyx. And then what happened was I started traveling around the world looking for games to bring to Japan as a publisher. And I found Tetris at a Consumer Electronics Show. And then Nintendo was coming out with Game Boy. And I looked through all of the contracts that anybody had about Tetris. Nobody had handheld. So I went after the handheld rights.
Yeah, the movie's fascinating because there were a lot of loopholes. There were a lot of different people that were trying to get into that space. And you had the tenacity, Taron Egerton plays you, to camp there, meet the guy that actually developed it, become friendly with him, party with him. And it's a fun ride.
It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
It's a fun movie. And I'm writing the book because the movie is a fun movie. And the actual story is different, but just as interesting.
Good. When's that coming out?
I'm looking for an agent. I'm just wrapping it up now.
Yeah, I would think you would have no difficulty with the life you've had and the mission that you're on, getting anybody to tell your story.
It was a very dramatic, there was much tension in the film, and I'm wondering if you felt that opposition, the immense amount of opposition that is depicted.
The tension was definitely there. But it was slow motion. It was slow motion. It's like I'm in the lobby of Elorg the very first day, and I show him my product. And at that moment, I have $2 million worth of cartridges in manufacturing. That's all a true story. It wasn't my profit. It was my in-laws. Everything they'd ever worked for was collateral for making cartridges. And this guy says, we never licensed the rights to console to anyone. And I'm going like, oh, I was in serious deep kimchi at that moment. And but I said, okay, I'm here to get the Game Boy rights. Let's finish that first. And I focused on that. And yeah, that was a good thing to do.
Do you play games now?
I do. I play, I kill time. Like I was a little bit early today, so I stopped at a coffee shop and I'm playing a game while I'm waiting at the coffee shop.
I love that.
Tell us what it was.
Gosh.
Candy Crush or one of those golf games?
I play Wordle every day.
Oh, do you?
I do Wordle too.
I play Wordle every day. So there's that.
What's your start word?
Oh, it's all over the place.
Really? You don't have one? Most people just have one.
No, I started with one and it did it for a while, and it used to be ideas.
I'm audio.
It has, but you know so basically you can eliminate it, but it just got boring.
Right, audio is
Starting-
too easy. That's the thing. I feel like Wordle. I got to the bottom of it. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Tetris. I still haven't gotten to the bottom. I've been playing Tetris for 40 years. I still play it. My daughter, 15 years old, plays it all the time. She's obsessively playing Tetris still. It's amazing the depth and the longevity in the kind of brain of that formula.
I think that Tetris is unique in that it is a constructive game. You're actually building those lines, and it's order out of chaos, which really appeals to a lot of people. And a lot of other games are destructive. It's chaos out of order. You're trying to blow things up and so on and so forth. But if you look at the world is mostly order out of chaos. I mean, we have all these wonderful buildings and objects that we've created and so on and so forth.
Those are the things that tend to make us happy.
Problems of all shapes that keep falling at us. It's
Right.
And we deal with them.
Yeah.
If you put them together in the right order,
is deal with it.
I had the pleasure of having lunch with Henk and the man who designed remind me of his name, who actually designed the game.
Alexei Pajitnov. Yeah,
We had lunch, and the most depressing thing about it was I announced to these guys that I had made it to the end, and Henk goes, "You mean and he says something, and I go,
I said
no,
the space shuttle.
The rocket going." He goes, "Oh no, there's 5 of those." I'm like, "Oh no!" I was so sure I'd made it to the end. At the end, also, he gave me a little calling card. You want to tell these guys what it was?
A blue marble.
Yeah.
There you go. So,
And if you're listening to this, he's now handing them out to us. This is his business
it's
card.
It's the Blue Planet. So the Blue Planet is a concept. It's a worldview starting in Hawaii. If you start in Hawaii and you back off the planet and look back down at the planet, it's pretty much a blue planet. And that is sort of the vision of, Hawaii's still like one of the last paradises on Earth. It's the least affected by, I would say, climate change, although we have hurricanes now. But it's still the least affected. And so I'd like the world to become Hawaii. I'd like it to start in Hawaii and then go around the world. Let's all be like Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
We want to do the next episode at the house. Is that possible?
Yeah. At the ranch, yes.
We'll
sure.
fly commercial.
Okay.
We probably won't be in the same part of the plane that you fly in, but we will come and we will do another Accutron show in Hawaii.
I will pick you up in my Tesla X.
See you there.
See you there. And you can stay at my ranch. It's an executive retreat.
We're on our way. Book it. Henk Rogers, thank you so much for joining us on the Accutron Show. You have a mission. We're behind it 100%. And now we're carrying your calling card, this little marble.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Henk.
Thanks, Henk.
Thank you for listening to The Accutron Show. To listen to all of our shows, visit accutronwatch.com. To learn more about the world of Accutron, follow us on Instagram at AccutronWatch and subscribe to our podcast. From New York City, until next time, Accutron time.